Lesson 46, we're going to talk about writing decimal numbers in expanded notation, as well as mentally multiplying decimal numbers by 10 and by 100. So we may use expanded notation to write decimal numbers, just as we have used expanded notation to write whole numbers. The values of some decimal places are shown in this table. Okay, so we have ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Remember that our tenths, our hundredths, our thousandths are just 1 over the 10, or 1 over 100, 1 over whatever we're talking about. Okay. So we write 425 thousandths in expanded notation this way. Remember, the other way I've told you can write it is like this. Okay. That is fine too. Without fractions, this might get confusing for some of you, but do it either way, I will accept it. The zero that serves as a placeholder in that tenth spot, remember we don't need to include it in expanded notation because when we put everything to get back together, put it in a simplified form into our numerical regular number, you're going to need to put it in there. But when we're writing expanded notation, you don't need it. Now, when we multiply by 10 or by 100, we shift the decimal point the same number of places to the right as the number of zeros in 10 or 100. So the number 10, for example, has 1 0, so we shift the decimal point one place to the right when we multiply by 10. When we multiply by 100, which has 2 zeros, we shift the decimal point 2 places to the right. So to mentally multiply 145 thousandths times 1,000, there's 3 zeros in 1,000. So we're going to move this decimal point 3 spots to the right. 1, 2, 3. So my answer is going to be 145. So however many zeros we have, that's how many numbers we're going to shift to the right. Okay. So let's go back to expanded form. Okay. So writing decimal numbers in expanded notation differs from writing whole numbers because the digits in the decimal places of a decimal number represent fractions of a whole. Therefore, such as are multiplied by fractions and written in expanded notation. Basically, what we're saying here, we have, remember, expanded notation, we can write 3,000 plus 400 plus 5. Okay, that's the regular number. When we have it decimals, let's pretend that this is a decimal point here. We could write 3 plus, I could either do 4 times 1/10, plus 5 times 1,000. Or I could write 3 plus 0.4 plus 0.005. Either this way or that way works. We can either use fractions or we can use decimals. So it says write 5 and 600ths in expanded notation. So I'm like 5 plus. We do that. Or if I wanted to use my fractions, I can do the 5 plus 6 times 100th because the 6 is in the 100th spot. It says write this as a decimal number. Okay. So notice there's no whole numbers, so I'm going to write 0 for my whole number, my decimal point. Tenths, 4 goes in the 10th spot. There's no hundredths, so I'm going to put a 0 there. And then 5 goes in the 1,000th spot. So remember, if it doesn't give us a place value, kind of like if it was hundreds or hundredths, we just put a 0 in there. Okay. So this is just talking about shifting the decimal place. Remember, if we have a whole number like 24, the decimal point is after. So if I multiply by 10, I'm really shifting that decimal point over 1, so I can add that 0. I just attach zeros to the end of the whole numbers. Okay, so if I multiply 24 by 1,000, I can just add 3 zeros to the end of that. Okay, so here's just an example of multiplying by 1, 10, and 100. Okay. Same thing works for decimals where we're shifting the decimal point to the right. So this is 24 hundredths. 24 hundredths times 10 turns into 2 and 4 tenths, and 24 hundredths times 100 turns into 24. So although it is the digits that are shifting 1 or 2 places to the left, we get the same effect by shifting the decimal point 1 or 2 places to the right. Okay, so the numbers are shifting this way to the left. Our decimal is shifting to the right. Okay, just some more examples here. Let you look those over quickly. Just shows how we're shifting the decimal point or moving the numbers or adding zeros. So it says multiply 3 7/500 times 10. We're multiplying by 10. I'm going to shift that decimal point one place to the right because there's 1, 0, and 10. So I'm just going to go over 1. So it'll be 37/5/10. Now I'm going to multiply it by 100. There's 2 zeros. So we move it 2 places to the right. Now I have 375. Now we're multiplying by factor of 1, product of 1. Okay. When it's like this, remember, we multiply the tops, then we multiply the bottoms, and then we can divide. So kind of what this is saying is, my original problem was this. What I can do is multiply by 10 over 10, so that this becomes 12, and this would become 4. So moving the decimal place 1 to the right. Now, this 12 divided by 4 is much easier to solve than 1 2 tenths divided by 4 tenths. Okay. Notice I can do that because 10 over 10 is equal to 1. So, go ahead, try the practice set. Make sure to bring any questions you have to class so we can go over them.